So one thing that I try to do as a leader is to show people that I'm not afraid to actually get my elbows like in the work.
Yeah.
So it's easy to delegate, it's easy to just boss around, but to show someone like you're willing to work side by side with them, even like, let's say, production stage manager working with a random crew member. So taking on that mentorship in a kind and like learning environment. It's easy to be cutthroat in theater, like everything needs to be perfect, we need to have a perfect show, but it's all about grace and it's all about allowing people to grow, because this.
Welcome to the Thriving in the Middle podcast. Believe it or not, I chose to spend the rest of my life in middle school. I've been teaching for over 19 years, and my primary goal can be boiled down into one task: developing human potential. My three favorite educational words are autonomy, agency, and authenticity. There's nothing more authentic than hearing about the realities of middle and high school life directly from the students who have lived through it. Whether you're a parent looking for perspective, a teacher trying to better understand your students, or a student looking for some guidance, this podcast has something for everyone. The goal is not only to help you survive, but to thrive during this complicated time of life. Ready? Let's thrive together. Today we're joined by Sarah Soliman. Sarah is a graduate of the GHS class of 2025. I had the pleasure of having Sarah 5 short/long years ago. Sarah's currently juggling a myriad of different things. I know she was just on a vacation and traveling the world, and so I'm going to talk to her a little bit about that, as well as juggling all the stuff you do before you head off to college. And so I know it's crazy and hectic, and we've rescheduled a couple times, and I am so grateful knowing that the countdown is on, that she's taking a break to come in and talk. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So let's start with your, I call it a vacation. I'm assuming, I don't know anything about it other than I think you went to Egypt?
Yes. So I went to Egypt for 2 weeks to go visit my family. My dad's from Egypt and my mom's from Jordan. So we always try to make space in the summer to try to visit them every couple years. So
What's that flight? Is it, how long did it take to actually get there?
14 hours.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Is it 14 legit, or is it 8 and stop and 8?
Yeah, 14 legit.
You're just on a plane.
Over the Atlantic.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. Where do you fly out from?
So we go to either Toronto or New York first, and then take a one-way flight to Egypt.
And you go every couple years, and so you still have family there.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a lot of family there. So my parents were the first ones of their family to come to the United States. So all of our family is still there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So is it, do you do touristy things when you're there, or is it mostly?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You go.
So after visiting a lot of family, took a while, but me and my dad went on a cruise down the Nile, and we saw all these amazing temples made by the ancient Egyptians.
Wow.
And these temples tell the story of ancient Egyptian gods, and how all the temples are related to each other, all over this one story of Zeus and Osiris.
And do you have a time period? Do you know how old? I'm putting you on the spot here.
Ooh, I actually don't remember.
Okay.
But
These
it's
are
very,
incredibly
very
old. Yeah, that's the cool thing about going somewhere like that with so much culture and history is how old everything is and the story behind them. Okay, so 2 weeks, that seems actually kind of quick. Actually, I mean, for going 14-hour flight and seeing family and
2 weeks sounds short, but it felt like 2 months.
Yeah,
we did so many things, visited so many people.
Probably exhausted.
Yeah, but it was very fun.
Is it safe? And I only ask that because I know there is some conflict inside of Egypt. Am I correct there? It's a safe, it's on my bucket list of places I want to go and travel.
Yeah.
It's a pretty safe place to go and be a tourist.
It is.
Yeah.
They're very friendly and hospitable. The Egyptian people, it's just in their culture to always be welcoming. And even my Arabic is good, but it's not perfect. They can sense the dialect and sense this hiccups, but they're very accommodating and very kind about it. So even with the tourists who were on our trip, on the cruise, there was a lot of foreign people from Italian and American and Chinese, and they were all very accommodating and very kind. So
yeah, that's cool that you were able to see other cultures inside of that space as well. So you're Arabic, and is that just directly from learning from your dad and growing up in a household that's first generation here? How did that work? Or
so when I was little, my parents would only speak Arabic in the house just because they knew when we go to preschool, we'll get English exposure from the outside, and they figured we'll just let them figure it out there.
Sure.
But
which you did.
Which I did,
right?
Thankfully.
Immersive, just being a part of that culture.
Yeah.
And so do you still speak that inside your house? Like, do you guys transition between Arabic and English, or?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to juggle between what I can communicate best in. So I sometimes Frankenstein like Arabic English together when talking to my parents, but my parents try to make the household very Arabic centered because we're in Granville in central Ohio and there's not a big Arabic population.
Yeah, we'll dig into that in a question a little bit later. Do you think in Arabic or do you think in English? And I'm not truly like I know a little bit of Spanish, so my brain definitely always processes in English. Like, what's that like for you?
So, I mostly think in English, but when I speak in Arabic, I don't try to translate in my mind first, if that makes sense.
That's like true fluency there, that you can transition between the two without having to think and process what my English is and turn it into Arabic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. Did you take any other foreign languages in high school or did you?
I've taken Spanish.
Okay.
I took it for, I believe, 6 years, starting in 7th grade.
And are you like, is a third language even easier to pick up, or was that?
It was easier to pick up. Yeah. I kind of lost it because I lost practice.
Yeah.
But while in class, I felt Spanish was very easy for me.
Yeah. Going back to your origins I feel like our language program, they do the best that they can inside of the situation that they have, but we're also way behind the rest of the world in learning multiple languages. It should be happening really, and all the research is very clear, like it should be happening really early and it should be immersive, like your experience. So you learned English because you had to use it to survive and to learn and to process. And we're still doing the like exposure to little bits here and there to a foreign language, and there's no fluency to that. It's still very piecemeal and broken. I actually just spent the last couple days at the lake with my family that lives currently in the Netherlands, and they lived in England and then are in the Netherlands, and same thing, their kids would like, they just pick up Dutch because they're surrounded by it. Like, you just have to rather than like going to a class where I'm going to learn Dutch now. There's something about like actually the fluency of learning it. So awesome. Okay, cool. So let's get into our actual questions that I have here. I did want to ask you one more thing. How about COVID? It's been probably 3 or 4 episodes ago, but it just organically came up that it was my COVID year, and I hadn't connected the dots. It seems like it was yesterday and also another lifetime all at the same time. I can remember it distinctly, but I also feel like it was like so long ago. And so it's not one of the questions that I wanted to ask, but I do want to ask, do you have any recollections or any takeaways, or does anything stand out about your COVID year? You were here for, was it like 2/3 of the year and maybe the last third, or 3/4 in the last quarter or something? Then we went completely remote. Anything that stands out or is worth noting, telling the world about from that COVID situation, or anything you learned about learning, or anything that kind of was like an aha?
So up to that point, I was like really like, I loved my teachers to like spoon feed me everything. But COVID was really hard for me academically and obviously socially. So that was the time period where I started really investing in like video essays and like YouTube stuff. So I found like this one YouTuber who talks about philosophy all the time. Do you know
who it is? Like,
Sisyphus55.
Sisyphus55. Cool.
He has cool animations and like little tidbits about philosophy and history, and that was just really captivating for me. So I guess COVID gave me the freedom to explore what I wanted to explore in such a horrible time. But socially, I stopped reaching out to friends. It was just like very in my own space.
It was easy to sort of to go into your own space. Are you an introvert or an extrovert, would you say?
I'd say I'm an ambivert.
Okay.
Is that the word?
Like in between?
Yes. I'd say I'm very extroverted social butterfly in social settings, but I really only let a few people get close to me.
Yeah, and need that introverted time sometimes, like taking space for yourself. So and it's funny that COVID catapulted, I feel like, the educational system ahead 10 years by force, in that it showed people a couple of things, and one of them is very much what you're saying, that there was no reason for any teacher to ever again be the gatekeeper of information. Exactly. Which is how education has been. And I have a stack of encyclopedias out there just as like a reference, how funny it was that when I was a kid, if I wanted to know something because I was curious, I literally would pull out. This makes me sound like a dinosaur, but this was not that long ago. I'm not that old. I'm only 42. But you would pull out the like section of these were really expensive, and there were salesmen that would come around. And you would pull out the section of the encyclopedia if I was looking up like black snake, and I would look, and it might have a paragraph on that thing, and that's what you got to learn. Like that's all you would have access to in information. And so there was this curation of information by teachers, and they would like hand it to you and be like, I know everything and I can show you the world. And it's just not the case anymore. That literally, if you are driven and curious, somebody at a high level has dissected that and packaged it and will transfer it to you. And they are at a high level. Like there's experts in the field out there who have created content for you, and the world is your oyster. Like you can learn absolutely anything you want. And there are still a lot of people who haven't. Like as I look around in middle school, I'm like, they haven't figured that out yet. And it's part of my ELM class. It's like, what do you love? Like, what are you passionate about? And how can you yourself just go out and access that information and go do something inside of that space? So I love that you said that. That was your light bulb moment of like, I could just go learn because I'm a human who learns and is curious.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And it was hard. We weren't set up as teachers to deliver content well. Really? Remotely, it was like a light switch, like, hey, figure out how to teach kids remotely overnight. Asynchronous. Yeah. And so I think that was probably another moment where just being genuine and honest, you were like, this isn't great learning. And so I'm going to go find it myself. Which is great. It's a great takeaway. And education bounced because of that. Like that was our aha moment of all the information is out there, and we really should create agentic learners who are just going and accessing it, because that's what will create learning for life, which is our motto here in the district. So that's a cool takeaway. Thanks. Mm-hmm. All right. So our first question here, I would love to talk a little bit about your involvement in the GHS theater. You were the production stage manager for the Descendants production that we put on. We got to see that. I was blown away. It was amazing. And then I also have two boys in the GMS orchestra, and so I got to watch you working your magic as that production was happening on stage too, as a production manager. And so I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit, what does a production manager do? Yeah. How do you step into that role? Because is there one production manager?
Yes, there's only one production stage manager.
And so how do you apply? How do you get involved in that? And then what's your takeaway from that? Like, what do you get out of that you might not find in any other space?
Yeah, so theater is a very merit-based system, and it's very student-led. So the production stage manager's main job is to bridge the communication gaps between the technicians and the actors, between the directors and the technicians, and the directors and the actors.
So as far as like, are you literally bridging communication gaps? Like, do you have a headset on and you're trying to like communicate and tell people things and like moving people around? Like it's a literal bridging the gap?
I have my job is segmented into two parts. So there is during the production of the show, during the making of the show and during the actual run of the show. So during the making of the show, I'm in charge of making sure people know what's happening, everyone is well informed and on time, and that we as a whole, on the technician side, set, lights, makeup, sound, whatever, and on the actor's side, that we are on track to open on May 1st. And then the second part of my job comes in during Tech Week and during the actual run of the show. So
there's also a director?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm working side by side with the directors during the making of the show. The
director is more like orchestrating the stuff on the stage specifically, and you're orchestrating the stuff that supports that?
Yes.
Is that a good?
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Okay. And most of that's for the acting side, but even the technical side, I have more of a making sure people are doing the right thing, helping, mentoring, supervising, and it's very student-led. So the GHS theater department works very similar to the real world.
Yeah, it's what I feel like we're scrambling and trying to recreate inside of a regular classroom, which is really hard to do sometimes.
Yeah.
How do we put students in charge of the situation of their learning, make it authentic, real world consequences if you mess up, like people know about it and things fall apart. So there's a healthy pressure to that. So that makes you show up in a way that maybe you wouldn't normally.
Definitely. I'd say theater was really a giant part of my personality. It taught me how to be a charismatic leader where I can uplift people for a common goal. Like, I think people think being a leader is like, I'm in charge, blah, blah, blah. But it's really about like holding that responsibility and holding yourself accountable for helping people grow.
Yeah.
The thing about theater is that it is such a team effort. Even like the audience, when you see it, you see things moving in the background, you see the lights moving. All of that is choreographed by the production stage manager in the booth with the headset talking to other people. And theater really, like, you hold your own. If you want to be involved, you can be involved. If you want to hold responsibility, you need to show that you can hold responsibility.
And there are people who need to offload that responsibility, and so they're looking for people who are ready to like step into those shoes, right? Like it can't all happen with one person who's pretending to give out responsibility to students. Like there can't be a teacher in the background who's gonna be like, I'm gonna actually have my hands in all this and make it all work, and I'll pretend like kids are involved, because they literally physically, it's not possible.
It's not.
And so they have to levy that real responsibility to students and hope they shine. And because it's authentic, it feels different, and you step up to the plate.
Yeah.
Right.
And in theater, there's like, it's such a big community, and there's so many jobs that need to happen. Like someone needs to help build the set and make sure that people are showing up to set, to design the lights, the costumes, the makeup, etc. So like the director's there watching, and it's a merit system where if you as like a regular crew member show that you can step up and that you're focused and you're willing to learn, that you could be in a set chair, so you're in charge of just set. And if you prove to be good at that, you can become an assistant stage manager where you're in charge of one side of stage. And if you're really good at that, you can become a production stage manager where all the responsibility lies with you.
Which you can't just show up and be like, I want to sign up for the production manager, because you have no idea what you're managing. Like you have to have had a part in all those roles to lead up to like, now I understand how the whole thing works. Yeah, that's huge.
I started as like just someone wearing all black backstage, and I'd like move a rock on stage and then run back.
And that had to happen though. Like you also had to be successful in that space, and so everyone, you know, has to show up and do their part in order for it to work. And it's again this thing that I love the music and the theater, and they've been doing this for a really long time, that we're now trying to recreate. Like, how do we make that happen in a classroom? Because this one off paper that I'm having you write, or this project that you're going to submit where you did it all by yourself, that doesn't happen in the real world. Like it's just not realistic. You work with a team, there's a ton of people, you all have to get along, you have to motivate each other, you all have to show up in order to have this big thing that's solving a large problem.
Exactly.
And the problem is like, we need to present
this
right. And so it's just this authentic real world situation. No matter if you're going to go work in the sciences, you're going to be an engineer, it doesn't matter where you go out in the world, you're going to work with a team of people. And so it's a great representation of that. How do you just start, and you said this, but I just want to clarify because it was kind of one of the questions. If you want to be involved in the theater, you literally just show up, because they're looking for people who are excited, and then you're going to work your way through that and take on larger and larger roles. And if you prove yourself, eventually you may get to the production manager, which is that like,
it's the head honcho.
That's the head honcho. You're the boss. You're in charge.
During Tech Week and during the run of the show, the directors take their hands off. They are sitting in the audience just watching the show, taking notes, and I'm the one in the booth saying, okay, set needs to change, lights needs to change, like that needs to happen on my cue. And so it's all on your shoulders then.
How do you do that in a way that, and you said this is so important, like you're uplifting people and motivating them rather than bossing them around? Like how do you, I find this still difficult as a 40-year-old that's been trying to do that for a long time. And I've worked for people who have done it both ways. And so what, any takeaways or ahas you have about like, how do you navigate people and get them to do the things that you need in a way that's positive and that makes them show up as their best self and excited to be there?
Yeah. So theater can be stressful. There's a lot of things happening, and some people can feel like that falls all on them. So one thing that I try to do as a leader is to show people that I'm not afraid to actually get my elbows like in the work. So it's easy to delegate, it's easy to just boss around, but to show someone like you're willing to work side by side with them, even like, let's say, production stage manager working with a random crew member. So taking on that mentorship in a kind and like learning environment. It's easy to be cutthroat in theater. Like everything needs to be perfect. We need to have a perfect show. But it's all about grace, and it's all about allowing people to grow. because this is their first time being human. This is their first time experiencing things as well. So even though I have a little bit more experience, I view my job as helping them, guide them, given the experience I've had, not necessarily like making them my pawns to charge forward.
Yeah. I just watched this movie called The Intern. Have you heard of it? It's kind of old, but I think it just came up on Netflix as like a free thing. And I like was talking about it to somebody. I was like, oh, I just watched this show. I think maybe it's a straight to, they were like, that came out 6 years ago. I was like, oh, never mind. But in that, the intern is an older gentleman, and he looks at the boss who they're thinking about IPOing and bringing in like a CEO who's going to run the company that she started. And he had gone and watched her go out on the floor and work with these, it was people who were packaging up the product, and they were doing it incorrectly, and it was showing up really ugly. And so she saw that. Instead of like telling someone else to go yell at them, she went into the factory, went and pulled the people around, had a conversation with them, showed them how she's boxed millions of these when they were small. As a small company, she knows what she was doing, and had a like just was real and was in the throes with them. And he just remarked, he's like, I watched you. No one else is going to run your company that way. You actually cared about it. You cared about the people, and you saw them and they heard you. And so I hear that in what you're saying, that you still have to sometimes get down and roll the rock around with the person who's the first year, because they don't, as a new person, they don't know that you've done all those steps. They haven't gone through that chain yet. And so they need to see you as a normal human who wants to see them win and is willing to get down in the trenches.
Yeah, and it's all about mutual respect as well. Like, I've seen a lot of different types of leaders in theater, some that like have a lot of negativity, but I've also had positive role models, and the way that they've affected me was that they showed me like, even though I'm like faltering a bit and that I'm still new to this, they still respect my opinions and my thoughts, and that I can have good ideas even if I don't have all the experience.
I love that you're looking around over the last 4 years of you've interacted with different stage managers, and you know that metacognitive piece of like, who do I want to be as a boss? There are so many people who complain because they have a horrible boss, and then when they get there, they become that person. They were like, wait, you hated all these things that person was doing. You know it wasn't effective, but they weren't paying attention to the right ways that things can go to learn from that. They were just looking at the stuff they hated. And so then that's all they know, and they turn into that. Just always good to be looking around in the world and thinking about those things. Do you ever, because I can't even imagine how intense it is. They're like in the moments. Intense. And so are there moments where you lose your cool and then you have to walk backwards and apologize? Does that ever happen?
Yes, it has happened quite a few times. Like during Tech Week, that's when the directors lay their hands off. And even though I've been working side by side with them, this is all to prepare me for like Tech Week and the run of the show. And so sometimes I've made a wrong cue, or something has just gone so disastrously wrong that's out of my control. I feel personally responsible for it. And like sometimes I lash out at people.
Yeah.
But what I found was important was I started meditating before each show. Yeah. Just to like clear my head and be like, if anything happens, it's okay. We did our best, and this is what our best could do. Yeah. So it's all about being mindful and also recognizing like people around you are stressed as well. Like I lashed out at my lights chair once because I missed a cue. Yeah. And that really affected their performance as well. So being a leader, especially holding a lot of responsibility, and that can be stressful, it's your mood and your actions affect other people. Yeah. So if you're very negative towards the show, very stressed and like, oh, I have to do this and this and this, and you're doing it wrong, their behavior will reflect that.
Yeah, there's 3 things in there that are huge, like so mature, that I want to highlight. The first one is the acknowledgement that you're lashing out isn't really even anything they did. It was you in the moment feeling like you screwed up, and so you had a shorter fuse, and so you were frustrated because of maybe something that, and I mean, I totally do this. I'm frustrated because of something I did, and then I show up in a way that I'm not my normal self. Yeah. That's huge. Just we're imperfect. Like, we're not going to fix that. That's going to continue to happen as a human being. So just a recognition that like, I will lash out at other people, and people will lash out at me, sometimes not because of anything I did, but because of something they did. And then the second part is the willingness to go back and make it right. Because, you know, if you don't fix it, if you don't like say, hey, that was me, I did that, that's not how I wanted to be in that moment, it's not you, that person, and you may not even think it was you were able to pick up that it impacted their performance, which it will, but you may not even perceive that. And if you don't go back and fix it, it will fester and it will be a bigger and bigger issue. So man, as a parent, I try to do this all the time. I am not perfect. I will mess up. I will yell at my kids. I will have a short fuse and have a temper. And then I make sure I go back, after I calm down, an hour later, 2 hours later, if it's at the end of the night, and I just like, hey, that was me getting mad over a situation that wasn't your fault. And I want you to know that was on me, and I apologize.
Yeah.
I hope they hear that. Like, I want them to become that kind of person too. So I make that a point. And then the third thing is that the energy you bring into the room is infectious. And so that's true of my middle schoolers. It's why I look at some of their students who could be leaders. And they are leaders, I guess, but unfortunately they're leading sometimes in the wrong direction because they come in with negative attitude and energy, and it can't not have an impact on the room.
Yeah.
And so when you're the boss, it's even more important. But even when you're not the boss, when you're the person, I could go back to this, I'm picturing it like it's a funny visual, but rolling the rock around on the stage in all black, like the energy you bring to that position impacts the other person that's beside you, and that impacts the other person. And so owning that and making sure you bring your best self when you can. It's not always possible. Things happen in your life, but your energy is infectious. Those are 3 awesome takeaways. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So the next question I have for you here. You also, as a performer, play the viola. My son plays the cello, and then there's the violin, and this is in between?
Yes.
Size-wise?
Yes.
Yeah. Anything unique about that instrument outside of the size?
It's shaped like a violin and has the same strings as a cello. So
yeah. What can it's different range, different sound? Like, what's its purpose?
Yes, so it's a different octave, I believe, from the cello.
And that's because of the shape, like the size of it?
Yeah.
Is that what happens?
Because it's a smaller size, the strings are thinner, but like the strings are still all the same notes as the cello.
Gotcha. And so because of that, and I'm just curious, like I don't play any of those instruments, but the 3 together kind of complement each other because they are at different octaves,
yes.
but they are playing the same note. Like
yes.
it's more rich or dense or something as music.
Yeah, it adds depth.
Depth. That's the word I wanted. Thank you. All right, cool. So your mom, I always interview the parents and ask questions for setting up for these interviews, and she found it profound or interesting as a mom because she doesn't have any musical ability that you then do. And so I'm wondering, how did that happen? Like, what was your progression into playing I keep wanting to say the viola, and what are your takeaways as a musician? Like, what has that provided for you?
So I started playing viola with everyone else in 5th grade. I didn't take any private lessons or anything, and I just went along with like the current. I was like, I'm not super passionate about viola, whatever.
In Granville, just to set the stage, so you can start playing an orchestra instrument in 5th grade, but they hold off on the band instruments until 6th grade.
Yeah.
And so why were you just more interested in the orchestra, and that's why, or was it like, I want to play an instrument, and so I'm going to pick this because I can play it sooner?
Yeah, it was also that. It was like, I want to play an instrument. I don't know what, but I just want to start as soon as possible and stick with it. So part laziness on my 5th grade self. But so I started in 5th grade. I went along with everyone else, and I wasn't super passionate about it. Not until I got into the GHS orchestra program.
Do they pick the viola? Like, how, or does it pick you?
No,
like, how do you land on that? And like, as a new student in 5th grade, how do they?
Well, you go in.
I'm picturing the Harry Potter like wand scene.
Oh, yeah. So they let you try all the instruments. I thought the bass was too big and the violin was too pitchy, and the viola was the only thing that I could make sound decent in that room. Yeah. So I was like, oh well, I'll pick that.
Yeah.
So that was my choice. And I've grown to love it.
Yeah.
So
and you said like you hit your stride in middle school. Was it's just more intentional, more fast movement? You're playing better, more songs. Yeah. Like, what was the click? So
the big click for me was actually my orchestra teacher,
because I think some people drop out in middle school. Sometimes they're like, okay, I'm busy, I'm gonna go in other clubs, and so sorry, go ahead, Mrs. Schnabel. Shout out Mrs. Schnabel.
Shout out Miss Schnabel. Yeah,
she's the coolest.
Yeah, she definitely is. I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of different people in music who are extremely passionate about their instrument. One being Miss Schnabel. She's passionate about teaching and playing. And
does she play? Hers is the violin?
The violin,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and she's in a band, which
is
really cool. Yeah.
Yes, I've actually had the chance to play with her.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah.
So when I met more people who are passionate about viola, so I had this one stand partner, and she was like gung ho, so passionate about viola. She loved every second of it, and I was just like, oh, willy nilly. And she saw that, and honestly, like, it was infectious. She would ask me to play with her. She would um, go out of her way to find new things that we can do with our instruments. And from that stemmed like my curiosity, like, oh, what is it about viola that she loves so much?
Yeah.
I kind of want to find out.
Is she same grade, older, younger?
She was 1 year older than
Okay.
me. Yeah. So from there, I started practicing more. I started like learning more about music and viola, and I just became so passionate about it too.
Yeah.
By the time I reached high school, so
I hear this in the theater department conversation we had, and in this one about who you surround yourself with, like what an impact that can have by putting yourself in the right room around the right people and pushing you in the right directions. And so it's so interesting. Does she know that? Do you think that she had an impact on?
Yeah, I've told her a lot of times.
Cool.
Like, we've played duets together, and I'm just like, you really changed my perspective.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's all about like allowing the right people to influence you, because it's really easy to like shut yourself off and be like, no, I think this way, so I'm gonna just stay this way.
Yeah.
And it's easy to let negative people affect you, because negativity is much easier to like
I like
seep
that
into your soul.
It's like a choice and an action, because the clarification of allowing the right people, because you can also allow negative people to influence you, or the wrong people. It's surrounding yourself by those right people and then letting them in.
Yeah,
it's huge.
And just letting them see like see the world. Yeah, their world, my world, and just growing together.
It's awesome. I don't know if this is like insulting or not. The viola, do you feel like it doesn't get the respect that it should?
My God.
I feel like you don't hear a lot about the viola.
Yes.
There's like Yo-Yo Ma, and he's got his like, I feel like there's some big name violinists and cellists, but I don't know. I don't know any. Are there? Can you
Timothy
like give
Chewy.
some props? Okay.
He's a great
Awesome.
violist. He played Allegro up, I think, 38, and it's the best viola solo I've ever heard.
Nice. Is it this on YouTube?
It's on YouTube. Yeah. Appassionato.
Yeah. What's his name again?
Timothy Chew.
Timothy Chew. Okay.
Yeah. And viola doesn't get as much hype as it should.
Yeah.
I personally like it because it has such a rich sound, and I've just bonded with the instrument through other people, and I think the viola community is very strong.
Yeah, just props to the violas. I feel like it doesn't get as much. It doesn't get as much screen time, stage time, as much conversation. Cool. Any other last minute things about somebody's thinking about, if they're a fifth grader or sixth grader, or maybe even a seventh grader who's contemplating not continuing orchestra? What might you tell them?
Orchestra has taught me a lot of things that I couldn't really learn anywhere else.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
What
kind of
so I realized how important confidence is in an orchestral setting. And I know that sounds weird, because you're in an orchestra and you're all playing together. It seems like a community thing.
Until you go to OMEAs.
Oh my gosh,
Holy
yeah.
cow. When you say
It's
like
intense.
the confidence, as a parent, I've been teaching for 20 years, and so I always know that they're coming up and the kids are talking about them and they're excited, but I got to like sit through one now with my own children. And I was like, holy cow.
It's intense.
Yeah, like I'm nervous in the audience for all of them. Like, oh my gosh, this is intense.
Yeah, so I actually found my confidence first through my viola, where it was like, at one time we were like working on a passage in the orchestra, and like it was a passage the orchestra as a whole was really struggling with, especially the violas. So Ms. Schnabel just kept drilling us with it, and I played the passage right, like out of some of the people there, and she was like, that's great, play it out so people can like, you can lead with your confidence.
What a moment.
Yeah,
right?
It was, I'd say, a life-changing moment, because then I was like, oh, even if I play a note wrong, even if I play it completely right, like my confidence makes my presence in the orchestra.
Yeah.
So even though it's a group activity, some people's presence goes like beneath the surface because they don't play out or they're not confident in their instrument. I mean, even when I was bad, I was confident, and that was really a big stepping stone for me to learn new things and be like adaptable with my instrument.
I think it's like the call to extracurricular things, and how you can experience this confidence there, and if it's this pivotal, how that can then influence your persona, who you are as a human. And that was in Mrs. Schnabel.
Yes.
Shout out Mrs.
Shout
Schnabel.
out Ms. Schnabel.
Changed another life over here. doing the work. That's huge. And I would just encourage everyone listening to put yourself out there to find the things and the extra stuff. And it might not ever, you may not find it in an academic classroom, even though I hope you hear when a teacher, because teachers do the same thing. They'll call it, they're like, that was it. Come up here and show us how to do that. And it can happen there. But I think it often happens outside of the classroom and in extracurriculars. And then when it happens, grab a hold of that confidence and bring it with you. Like, don't let it be like, oh, I only can have that confidence as an orchestra member. Be like, no, you have a presence as a human, and carry that confidence with you in all the other avenues and arenas that you step into.
It's
if you
all
can.
about making yourself, like, owning your space in the world.
Yeah.
And like, as seniors, we got to give advice to younger orchestra members, and I was like, play out, be confident, because even if you do something wrong but you play it out, you can spot it and you can fix it. If you're very quiet and you don't like play, then it's like you never grow, you never change. And I guess you can switch playing out with like owning your space in this world.
But it's the willingness to mess up and make a mistake. The same thing, the playing out in the classroom is saying the dumb thing, asking the question, the willingness to step into the really hard room and be wrong in front of really smart people, because that's how you're going to grow. And so that, playing it out, we'll call it, no matter what space you're in, just own it, and knowing that everyone else is nervous, and you can even have an impact on them too. I think when they see you being confident and speaking out and being wrong, and they're like, oh,
exactly,
the world kept spinning, it's okay, like you're allowed to be wrong. That's good, that's huge, awesome. All right, shifting gears a little bit. This is really cool. So I learned in talking to your mom that you're one of 12 finalists selected for the Zonta. Is it Zonta?
Yes, Zonta.
Cool, Zonta. Young Women in Leadership Award. They recognize young women for demonstrating leadership skills and a commitment to public service and civic causes. And they encourage them to contribute and participate in public and political life. And so I'm wondering what that experience was like. Like, how did you how did you get involved? Like, is it an application? Did someone nominate you? And I don't know, that's like talking about filling up your bucket and being confident, like what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, so actually I was the sole nominee for Granville Schools. And so how this works is every year the school districts in Ohio can nominate one female representative to go to a leadership forum. And so the criteria is being, I guess, worldly and open in your views, willing to learn. Another criteria was leadership, and the other criteria was like change that you want to implement into this world.
Like having a perspective on that.
Having a perspective, having a goal.
And advocacy, yeah.
Yeah. So advocacy, leadership, and
do you know who nominated you?
Yes, Mr. Hinton and Miss Cosgrove.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so you're the one nomination from like Granville, Ohio? Is it from Licking County? Is it from like how does that part work? Like,
yeah,
each school get to nominate somebody?
It's tiers. So each school gets to nominate someone, and then we go to a leadership forum. And this is just like, we sit down, we have conversations about leadership and like philosophy and empowerment and advocacy. And from there, they observe our answers, our thoughts. They get to know us one-on-one.
So do they are there questions going in? You're like, I know I need to kind of have something to say about this, and this, or do they kind of throw them at you there? Is it a general sense of like, what is your advocacy? Like, what do you care about in the world? Like, how did that part?
Yeah, so basically we went into this forum and they just had like booklets and they had little groups. And there was 2 like Zontonian members in each group. And
were these previous nominees or winners, or they're just...
Yes, they are people involved in Zonta who help make the things that Zonta do possible. So empowerment, volunteering, etc. So they would just observe our answers, and the leadership forum was somewhat of like trying to get to finalists, but also it was just a space for us to converse freely. Like all of these people that I was with, like all over the state, and they had opinions and thoughts and different perspectives, and we were all sitting on the same table as, I guess, people who were accomplished and sharing our accomplishments. So
getting
it was
to
really
that
enriching
step is powerful. Like that itself. And then I think there is some orchestrating that happens in our world that is a positive, where you push like-minded people together, and that can be really powerful. And so you're sitting in a room around other women who are right,
same
like
leadership,
thought leaders,
yeah,
have advocacy, want to change the world and do something.
yeah.
Cool. And then from that, they make a selection and move people like
Yes.
progress further.
So then out of the 34 people who attended the leadership forum, I was one of the 12 who were nominated for finalists.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so at this finalist reception, we get to give a speech. And it's a speech about our future advocacy or something that has inspired us, or just a platform for us to share our thoughts as young women. So from there, I gave a speech.
You're going to tell us. I'm like, oh, what was it about?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this speech was about empowering yourself through the mundane. I was actually really influenced by an English project that I did. In AP Lit, we did an English project like 2 weeks before about themed poetry. And I decided that I wanted to see how the mundane, like average everyday things are conveyed through poetry, and how the poet's perspective affects the like meaning of the average, you know?
Yeah.
So jumping off of that backboard, I wrote my speech about that, about how advocacy does not come from, lining up front lines in a protest and, cheering the loudest, but it comes from the everyday actions that you do. And everything, like, everyone asks me to define my life with one defining moment, even like in college essays and even in the speech. But it's not about that. It's about everything that has made me who I am today. And I am a accumulation of so many different experiences and so many different ideas and thoughts and people. So I believe advocacy comes from allowing those thoughts to shape you and allowing other people to realize that they don't have to have some grandeur to actually affect the world today.
Yeah. Even in the relationships you were talking about in the drama department and in the orchestra department, about how your actions and the way you show up influence other people. Like those small moments is where living is happening. It's like where life is unfolding and has an impact, and how you then impacted that person and they went out and did something different because of that light or darkness that you shown in that moment. The question itself, I like that you acknowledge, like, it's a bad question because it's destination focused and not journey driven, where, my advocacy would be like, once you get to the thing or the moment that you said, like, they want you to put something up on a pedestal, the thing wasn't it. And if you were putting the moment on a pedestal, once you get there, you're going to be really disappointed because it's short.
Yes.
and all the actual life living was happening getting to it. And so that's really where the light should be shown. And you can't pick one or two moments out of that menagerie of things that led up to that pinnacle moment.
Yeah.
And then when you're on the pedestal, you realize that there's another pedestal out there and you start, trying to get to that thing. Yeah. And if you forget, it's unfortunate because all the living was happening in between. Yeah.
Yeah. And I found, like, personally, my advocacy in this, like, women's rights organization, it was that empowering other people will do greater things than you can ever imagine.
Yeah.
That's why I really admire educators, and shout out to Miss Schnabel again.
Man, she's all over this podcast.
She's all over this podcast.
Worthy, very worthy.
I would say she taught me a lot about how teaching should be, how like you can be in charge, but you can also be charismatic and kind and always lead with grace. And so her empowering me in that way has led me to do great things.
Yeah, well, that's what you said you were trying to do as a production manager too, right? Like that works in all those arenas. Yeah, that's good stuff for sure. And that conference, 32 women aren't going to change the world.
No.
Right? Like, we pulled out 32 who are like worthy of being celebrated, but it's going to be the impact that they have on the other people and the impact that they have. And it's going to take, it's everyone that's going to actually have the impact.
Yeah.
It's not going to just be. So I like that you said it's the leadership moment that you can influence others. That's great. Cool. All right. So moving on. You've been blessed with, which we already talked about, bicultural background,
yes.
Middle Eastern, and you said your mom's from Jordan and your dad's from Egypt. And then now you live in this little town of
Yeah.
Granville, which isn't the most diverse place in the
It's
world.
a little bubble.
Yeah, it's a bubble. And like, thankfully we have Denison, because it really does give us some diversity. But at the same time, they are kind of they're literally up on a hill.
Yeah.
And you know, they don't come down a ton into the students that are there. And so thankfully, though, they do offer us some multicultural experiences and some diversity. And so I'm just wondering, what's that like, growing up with multicultural background and then being, you know, raised inside of this really small bubble, you know, Ohio town. And were there challenges? Was it like, what was that like? Yeah.
So, when I was smaller, I viewed it as a blessing and a curse. I could do like a little party trick where I say random sentences in Arabic and people cheer.
So when you say, like, what kind of age do you think, what age do you think you perceive that like this is a little bit of a gift, but it's also going to be a little complicated? Like, how young do you think you perceived that?
I was like 13.
Okay.
I was 7th, 8th grade.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And the reason why I felt like it was somewhat of a curse was because I obviously have a different background than everyone else.
Yeah.
And my parents have a different background than everyone else's parents, especially in Granville. And so sometimes I'd see my friends like doing things that my parents, like, they're not used to doing in their culture. So I felt like, oh my gosh, this is awful. They're suffocating me. But as I grew up, I realized that no, I'm actually blessed to have this other perspective and this other world. And my parents have come such a far way, like integrating American society into their culture where they grew up in. So I guess it took a lot of maturity on my behalf, but I would personally say I really enjoyed my experience growing up biculturally. I feel it has given me such enrichment in my life because
it's that depth moment again that we were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah. And Arab culture is, it's not very different from American culture, but it's much deeper. It's had years and years of history. And so exploring that, it gives me just like another outlook on life. And I used to view it as like two different perspectives, like my American perspective and my Arab perspective. But now I see the world through like a conjoined perspective where I take my values and morals from my Arab background, but also implement it into my American life and not really feeling guilty or bad because I'm different than everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's such an appropriate time. Like, middle school is such a like looking around the room and trying to be normal and trying not to stand out sometimes. And so, you know, your ability, I think everyone feels that to some extent for whatever reason. That I'm shorter, I'm taller, I'm not in a sport. I am, like, there are things that they're identifying themselves as different. Yours goes just a lot deeper than that because you have this whole cultural background piece. And then the willingness to go like, oh yeah, that's just depth. Like I now have this like wonderful perspective. Like, I have two lenses I get to look at the world through, and I can mush those together to be one lens that's actually more powerful than even isolating them by themselves. Any advice you would give to somebody who has a multicultural background, is maybe sitting in 6th grade, 7th grade, looking around a room and going like, oh man, my parents do these things that are different than everybody else's, and when I bring them over to my house, I'm sure there's things culturally, and it might be food, it might be conversation, it might be traditions that are different, and I'm embarrassed. And like, what would you tell that person?
Honestly, I would tell them to just take it easy on themselves. That comparison is the theft of joy, and even though it's a cliche, it's very, very true. Like, this is something very silly, but my lunches smelled
they are
weird.
Though, right? I mean, they're all, when you look back at these things that we're so upset about or we're so nervous about, they always are kind of silly. But they're big in the moment.
So like my lunches smelled weird. Like, you could smell like garlic in them and stuff, and onions and like weird like turmeric and stuff that some noses aren't so accustomed to. And I was like jealous of my friend's peanut butter sandwich, and like my 6th grade friends.
Like, why don't the other lunches smell? Like, why don't they? You know, like, that's the real question we should be asking. Is like, why?
Ew, what do you have? Why is it green and like slimy and blah blah? But it was my favorite food. It's called moukhia, by the way. And
moukhia.
Yes.
Yeah. What is it?
It's basically from a mluchia plant. I don't know what it's called in English, but it looks like spinach.
Okay.
And it's
a
like
leaf.
it's a leaf. Yeah, it's a leaf. And it's made into like this delicious paste with garlic and all these spices. And it's basically a sauce, and you put it over white rice.
Is it like a guacamole consistency? Is it thinner than that?
Like an Alfredo consistency.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's delicious. It's so rich.
So I'm sorry, it's that leaf, and it's ground up with like what other things?
With like garlic and like spices and sometimes onions.
And you put that on top of rice.
And on top of rice. And it's delicious. I love it.
Yeah.
But it's like silly things like that. So stop comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah.
And
get them to try it. I mean, and to the people who are going like, why does that smell different? Like, well, why? Like it should. You know, it's from a different culture, and then I think on them the open-mindedness to go like, I think we do that with all things. It could be like somebody looks different. It could be they're wearing different clothes. It could be that they speak different. They have an accent. The differentness, and then our initial reaction. And I think this could be evolutionary. I think this could probably go back to like as human beings being pack animals and knowing what's safe and not, and knowing again that willingness to go like, I'm a human. It's inside of who I am. That sometimes I'm like, oh, that's different, and my initial reaction is like, and then going like fighting that, be like, wait, that smells different. I wonder why. Let's try it. And what does it taste like? And food is such a, I don't know,
it's such a lens into other cultures.
100%, and a gateway, I think, into other cultures. Definitely. And then when you're eating that food, you're going to be around other people who might be different, and then you're going to have conversations. And I think food is that gateway that can open up a lot of perspective for people.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Be easy on yourself. And I would add in there, as you said that, and it's such an appropriate, but like also be easy on your parents.
Be easy on your parents. Yeah, I definitely would say that. When I was younger, I didn't have the perspective to realize that they have bent over trying to give me a balanced childhood and trying to let me experience like all the things in America that are different from their countries, but also retaining their values.
They had it twice as hard. Well, I'm thinking as a parent, and I try to expose my kids to other cultures, but also to our culture and what's right and what's wrong. And they're trying to intentionally expose you to both cultures, and, embracing assimilation to some extent, and then fighting assimilation to hold on to their culture and make sure that you have a piece of where you come from. Like, that's so special. And I can't imagine that would be really complicated as a parent.
I didn't really have this revelation until like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So they fought with a hard child.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Mom and Dad.
And that it's completely developmentally appropriate too, because it's hard, and you're seeing it as different, and it makes your life potentially more complicated in the moment, but for good reason, right?
Yeah,
so that you can have a piece of that culture.
When I sit down and I reflect about like how my parents brought me up, I realize that now like what they brought from their culture was like food and art and just like religious aspects as well.
These beautiful parts of it, right?
Yeah, I'm Muslim, and I'm surrounded by like a town that has 4 churches on one square.
Christian churches.
Correct, yeah. And they tried really hard to like really make sure that I understand the values of Islam, and they didn't ever force it on me, but they just educated it on me, and they're like, this is what we believe in, this is our culture, and that's now my culture, and this is what I believe in. And I thought it would be hard to like assimilate into like, a very Christian, very white society, but you don't feel it in everyday life.
Yeah. What a great lens to look back on for you, though. You'd be half of yourself. Like you would, what a hole there would be in the person and the human that you are if you didn't have access and exposure to all those cultural moments that were probably hard in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Cool. All right. So before you know it, you're going to be headed off to college. I don't think I know much about this, of like where you're going and how that process took place, and is it big, is it small, why did you pick it, what's the application process like? Can you just walk us through where you're headed and how you ended up there?
Yeah, so I'm headed to The Ohio State University for neuroscience.
Okay. What is neuroscience?
So when I was in junior year, I took AP biology in the morning, and then AP psychology as my 8th period class. And so every single day I got like a two sides of the same coin. I was like, whoa, psychology really feeds into biology, and biology really feeds into psychology, and this is so cool.
This is the bridge.
This is the bridge. And so I started researching on myself, like, what is the gap between psychology and biology?
Yeah.
And it's the brain. It's the hardwired system that you have. So I was like, this is fascinating. And neuroscience it was.
Is it fair to say we don't know a lot about we know a lot about neuroscience, but I also think the brain is this like, box that people don't truly understand all of the intricacies of what it controls and like how it works. How does
this gray lump of flesh in our head create consciousness and thoughts and personality? So it's very interesting. There's a lot to be discovered in the brain. I feel like as a field,
there's a whole, there's endless amounts of things that we don't understand that need to be studied.
The things we know, we've labeled, but even the things we do know, we don't know quite exactly how they work.
I love that too. Like, I think that's so true that we label them. And I think this about medicine in general and science is like we're practicing. Like we know what we think we know, but it might change. Like, and we maybe only know a piece of it, and we're going to call it this thing, and because we're trying to figure it out, and we need to label it to talk about things intelligently, but it could be vastly different.
Yeah. And like there's areas of the brain that we just call association areas that are associated with something that we have a vague idea of, but we actually have no idea what it does and what it's like, what's its purpose.
And it's taken hundreds of people their entire lives and careers to figure out the pieces that we have, and it will take hundreds of other scientists and their lives and their careers to figure out the next portion and piece.
So I think that just like how little is known in the field and just how interesting it is, like, because I love psychology and I love biology, and it's like, well, all of these things, like psychology is somewhat abstract. Like, I interact with a person a certain way and they will respond a certain way. But why does that happen?
Yeah. What's happening biologically inside of your brain? Were you intentionally like seeking that as a student of like, I might want to study this? Like, were you, when you said I went and sort of bridged that gap or was looking, what's the crossover there? Was that with intent as a student going like, I'm going to have to do something here in the next couple of years and pick a major? I might like this, or was it just general curiosity?
It was just general curiosity. So it was just by chance that my classes ended up this way.
Gotcha.
But then I was just fascinated by it. And so I talked to my biology teacher and I talked to my psychology teacher about biology and biology about psychology.
Yeah.
So I'm really lucky that I had all these resources to help me expand and to learn. And the college application process was very stressful. I mean, I've been preparing since like day one of high school, had a 4-year plan, everything.
Was that you? Like, was that your family? Was that the high school counselors? Like, because I'm not sure if everyone has that kind of like track and idea moving forward. And so how did you, why as a freshman were you already thinking about that?
Yeah, so my parents were really helpful in this process because they are both college professors. So they see college students all the time. They see like what are the requirements to get into a good school. And
can I sidestep for a second?
Yeah.
Did they study in Egypt and in Jordan, or were they educated in the United States? Like, how did that part happen?
So they both got their bachelor's degree from Egypt and Jordan. So my mom got a bachelor's in English language, and my dad got a bachelor's in environmental science. No, he got it in physics. Sorry. And then they came over to Purdue University in Indiana for their PhDs.
Got it. Is that how they met?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So they got experience as college students in the United States, and they know that it is a very daunting task and that schools are becoming very, very competitive now. Yeah. So they wanted to make sure that I am in front of the curve. And so at first it was them mostly pushing me, like, keep track of your volunteer hours, make sure that you're like, if you're interested in something, stick with it and go far with it.
Yeah.
So they started those ideas off, and I just took them and ran.
It's so interesting right now. And on one hand, there are less people who I think are seeing college as a viable option to a career path or making a lot of money or a necessity necessarily. But then we're not seeing any slowdown. Like there are these two conversations happening out in the world, but we're not seeing any slowdown in enrollment, and it's actually getting more and more competitive and hard to get into these colleges. And so there seems to be this disconnect of the narrative that's out there of, you don't have to go to college, which you don't. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's important because we've sold that message for the last 15 years to kids that if you don't get a college degree, you're not going to amount to anything. You can't be successful. You can't make money. And that's absolutely not true. And we've seen that as a deficit to the trades. And there's just so many ways that you can make a lot of money, have a really good career and a living without college and without spending so much money on college, like the ROI on that investment. But then at the same time, we haven't seen the slowdown, and it is still incredibly and more so and competitive. Ohio State is a great example.
Yeah.
And I don't mean this as like it used to be your backup school, and we're talking 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It was if you had decent grades, you probably were going to get into Ohio State. And that's just not the case anymore. It's really competitive.
Intense. Yeah. Like even with like Ann Arbor, Michigan, like University of Michigan, that used to also be a state school, but now it's like competing with Ivies.
Yeah.
So my parents were very useful because as adults, they could see this change happening, and especially with like the unique perspective of college professors.
They lived inside of it every day.
So they were very, they hold a lot of emphasis on education. That education is like, you know, your key to the world.
Yeah.
Anything you want to accomplish, you can accomplish through education. Which
I think is still true. And I just think that to our earlier conversation, education now can look different because you can access information without actually, like, education can happen outside of a university or a college degree. Like, you can educate yourself in a lot of different ways now.
Yeah.
So did you you knew freshman year you started to think about this? Did you guys do any other sort of like there's Estrella, I think it's called, but like secondary counseling programs or things that like get you prepped for school, or was it more just personal, like we're going to be intentional about this? And
it was just very intentional, very personal. So I mean, my parents encouraged me to like volunteer in places that I was interested in. They encouraged me, like, you know, if you want to go for like student council, do it, like if I was on the fence about it. So they encouraged me in all the right ways in order to make me a more competitive applicant to college.
And you said this earlier, and I think it's worth repeating. You know, your parents were saying, if you want to be in student council, try that and try this and try that. And then at some point, dig in and go deep. That colleges, and when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Colleges aren't looking for you to do 50 things. They're looking for you to do 4 things and be completely really involved, good at them. You know, on the committees, you know, being the president of the whatever association. They want to see that you like stuck to something for multiple years and you really dug in on them, because what they want is when they come to campus, they want to know that they've brought people in who are going to dig in and take control of skill sets and clubs, and they're going to, you know, they're not as interested as, you know, being I did 50 things as I did these couple of things and I was really involved in them.
Yeah, they encouraged me to try a lot of different things. My dad, especially with theater, I was like, I just want to be an actor. And like, not to say that you can't like work your way as an actor, but it's not it's a talent system, not quite so much as merit. So he encouraged me to try technical theater, and from there I like worked hard and I showed that I can handle responsibility.
And the world probably, I mean, if we're being real, there's very few spaces for talent at a high level. Like I'm just, you know, and this is the baseball player, this is the actor, there's very few spaces and places, and they're going to be financially rewarded really well, but there's not a lot of them. But there are ample opportunities for merit and working hard and working your way into a position. So that's an interesting reflection that now that you say that out loud, like taking on that stage manager production, like working your way through that really shows an employer at some point, like, wow, you worked your way here and stuck with it and ended up, you know, that says a lot about your character and who you are as a person and someone who's going to lead people the right way. That's huge. Cool. So the Ohio State neuroscience started that idea early. Were you looking around at friends who weren't maybe thinking those things through or taking it as seriously, going like, you might want to, was that ever a thought?
So it was a lot of my friends, like, you know, they were just like high schoolers. We're just going to take it one step at a time. We don't have to worry about college till junior year. But some friends that I've met are like had the similar mindset as me. So like as a freshman, I was like, I need to get into NHS and this is how I do it starting from now. So
was that stressful?
It was a little stressful, but honestly, it wasn't like to the point where it was like debilitating
Yeah.
or lowered my self-esteem.
That's
It
key.
was a positive stress.
Yeah.
It gave me motivation. It made me excited for school.
Created some drive. I'm having this conversation with my kids now because I want them to put themselves in the really hard rooms and to stretch and reach for the really hard things. But at the same time, I'm like, and this sounds maybe like short-sighted as I say it out loud. I was like, but you get to choose whether you want to be stressed about those things. Like if you want to be, and I'm talking about like debilitating stress, if you want to be anxious, is that I want you to reach for all those things and I want you to strive, but I also want you to do that knowing that some of them are out of your control. And so you show up, you try out, you try to do the thing, and some of them aren't going to go right. And your identity can't be associated with your success in those moments. Yeah. Your identity was associated in your willingness to show up and try for it. And if you can separate those two things out, then I think the stress, because that's what I worry about when I see these high achievers, is they're losing their minds. They're so anxious. They're so stressed. And I'm like, be a high achiever, go out for all. And again, this is so easy to say, hard to do. But I think it is this mindset shift of you get to choose. Nothing's good or bad, but thinking makes it so. You get to choose whether, Bill Shakespeare, you get to choose whether you want to feel that anxiety. And I think it's because you associate your identity and your worth with that thing. And you don't have to. Like you can go on to the next thing and go, I'm so glad I failed at that because that was a growth moment. Yeah.
I mean, looking back at high school, I realized that I probably should have been like very stressed at some things. Like my involvement in theater, because I chose to be so involved, I would be working from after school at 3:00 all the way till like 8 or 9. And it was a very long time, and I'd come home exhausted, and I'd have to wake up early to do my homework, like at 5 a.m., do all my homework before going to school. So, I mean, looking back at that, I wasn't very stressed.
Yeah. Do you think that was because it wasn't? Like, do you think that was because you're, like, I think sometimes parents stress kids out. Like, you know, they're not making that stressful. Was it because you were just good at managing all the time and juggling the things?
Yeah, so there was a couple factors that played into it. My parents were one of them, where they said, like, you know, do your best in school and, like, show up. So, like, even if my best was a C on my chemistry test, they wouldn't be upset with me.
And sometimes that C is because I was at theater until 10 p.m. setting up for a thing, and I studied, and I was practicing for orchestra. Yeah. So the C is in Congress with all these other things, and so the C's great because you put in all the effort you had in the moment.
Yeah, my parents' rule with extracurriculars was your grades have to come first.
Yeah.
So even when I was in theater, I thankfully somehow maintained like a 4.2 GPA. Yeah. And that was because they didn't stress me out. They saw that I was doing good in school. And personally, the way I saw theater really helped keep me not super stressed. I viewed theater as something I really enjoy. Like that was a role that I embodied without feeling super stressed. It was something almost as a release.
And as an extracurricular, if you're despising going every moment, then it might not be the right extracurricular. Like those really should be exploration kind of moments that you enjoy. So that's a good takeaway there. Like it shouldn't feel, you know, you've taken on too many and the wrong things if when you're going to them it's now this like super stressful thing. But if you're going and spending hours doing it and you love it, it's the thing that you're supposed to dig in on, and you've found something. That's cool. Do you know how many days?
How many days
till you leave? Like is it?
Oh my gosh! Today's no, I'm not counting down.
You're not counting
down.
Taking
it one step at a time.
Cool. But it's in August.
Yes.
Soon. It's coming up.
Soon.
Roommates? Like, do you know who you're?
Random.
And you haven't met or talked yet, or not at all?
I'm just gonna go for it.
That's awesome. So you just sign up and they will match you with. Do you know if it's like a one person or a quad or?
I think it's one person.
Cool. Just the day of.
Oh my
gosh. That's awesome. All right. Cool. Do you know people there already? Like.
Yeah. So some of my friends went there, like upperclassmen.
Yeah.
Majoring in chemistry and English. So I'll have some friends.
Yeah. Sometimes it's nice just to have a little bit of a. On the first few days, somebody to talk to, and then you meet people quick. All right, awesome. Well, we're moving into the next and last segment of the podcast. These are questions that I ask every guest, and they are aimed at middle school, high school students who are kind of coming the way that you have. They have 4 years, and helping them navigate that a little bit smoother. The first one is, if you could go back and tell your middle school self anything that would have made navigating middle and high school easier, what would you go back and tell yourself?
Honestly, I tell them to memorize a couple jokes.
Oh,
I would tell my middle school self to, because in middle school, I felt very floaty between friend groups. I wasn't really sure where I landed. I'm sure like many people have experienced. And I don't want to sound too cliche, but it's always nice to have something in your back pocket, something corny or something like that. It's just like
it's the icebreaker.
It's one way to like not take yourself super seriously and not take everyone else super seriously. And
you were probably pretty serious and I don't know if this is tell me yay or nay, and I can think back of who you were as a middle schooler, but as you navigated the next, like when you're already thinking about college and you're on a trajectory, sometimes you can be too serious, because life
you have to remember you're still like 13 and like you still have your whole life ahead of you,
right?
And I know, like, I remember at that age thinking like I know everything, because that's really all I knew. So it's just like keeping an open mind.
That's a funny thought. Like, I thought I knew everything because it was all that I knew. Like, you don't even know what you don't know yet. Like, that makes so much sense. Like, of course they think they know everything because they know everything that they know. They don't know what else is out there. And I think about this with my own children. They're both really serious. My oldest is really too serious academically, and so we have lots of conversations like this about, man, I need you to relax. Like, you got to go have fun. But then I think there's also this other end of that coin that's dangerous, of being like, you can grow up. Well, and you can grow up later. Like, you're a kid. You're supposed to be having fun now. And I think you can do both. Like, I think you can take school seriously and love learning and have a trajectory and a path and an idea of where you think you want to go. And you can still have fun. And you can still, like, have those social moments.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that influenced me was my mom in middle school, because my mom is like a beacon of positivity.
Did you find that enlightening or annoying in the moment?
I found it very annoying in middle school. But like just having a source of positivity, or just like even from within you or outside of you, it's very beneficial. It makes me feel like I can handle it. It's going to be okay. It's
back to that same conversation we had earlier about how your energy influences other people. And so even though it felt annoying, you still had this like positive light in your life every day.
You can see how the people influenced me, right?
Yeah. Cool. All right. Next question. What was something your middle school, high school years that you didn't totally appreciate, but looking back, you're like, that was actually pretty great?
Math homework.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd have to say math homework because I guess maybe it's a metaphor, but I thought my teachers were out to get me. They're like, I just want to have fun. I want to go back and like play my instrument, and they're giving me so much homework. But then I'd come into class the next day and I'd know exactly what's happening. I'd have like a solid foundation, and it was like they were helping me even in a way that I didn't want to be helped. So just do what you're supposed to do, in the sense that if someone's trying to help you, let them. And your teachers are always trying to help you. They're trying to help you learn. They're trying to help you explore new things.
Yeah, remembering that they're not out to get you, for sure. They chose this path because they want to enlighten people and want to like help, people find their calling and their place and space in the world. Homework often means more work for teachers too. So like remembering that like, gosh, they don't want to assign anything that they don't feel is absolutely necessary. But at the same time, I also have this, I worry about too much homework, because I think it can suck up all the time to where you're not now finding your thing. Like somebody might feel like, I can't be in the drama department because I have so much homework. When am I going to get that done? I'm also an athlete. I'm also like, so I don't know and I don't know the answer to this, but it's something I think about a lot. And as a department and as teachers, we talk about a lot of like, what's the right balance, right? And the math department is the mainstay, who is like, we must give homework. And you get it, because the reps on doing something like that is going to help then the progression and understanding the math the next day when you got to move on to the next thing.
Homework, the way I viewed it is like, it's just practice. The same way I practice my instrument to be better at a piece of music.
You wouldn't expect to just show up and for orchestra day and play. That would be very bad. It would not sound good. And so I think, the math department here has gone, and Mr. Minton last year, he made it homework optional. So you either do it or you don't, and the
Yeah.
consequences are now on you, which I think can help in the long term. There's this pain moment where they are like, sweet, I'm not doing it, and then they start failing things, and they're like,
I need to do this.
yeah. And as a math teacher, they worry because now you got to go backwards and fill in the gaps to then move forward. But he did see a progression of now more kids are doing it because it's now their choice, which feels empowering, I think. And they saw the connection between when I didn't do it, I didn't do well. And it's not you telling me to do it. I now see that if I don't, this is a part of my learning and it's going to have a deficit.
Exactly.
And if we did that from day one across the board all the way forward, maybe it would change perception, the agency behind that.
Yeah. I mean, I remember there was one math class I took in high school where homework was optional. And I think because up to that point I had like always done math homework and always found out, this kind of helps. Like doing the study guide, it's exactly what's on the test.
So you kept doing it.
I just kept doing it and I was fine.
Yeah.
But like some of my classmates, they like wouldn't do it for the first bit and then they would and then they wouldn't. And it's just like some people have their priorities different. Yeah. So because I prioritize my education, that was something that came first for me. But I think empowering other people, feeling that they have like a choice does help. But some people just need like...
In the ELA space, it's the same thing with reading. Like, I don't want to ruin reading by telling someone you have to read books, because to me it's just this like foundational. It's how we understand the world. Like you read because you've worked hard, probably more than almost anything else, to be able to read, and people forget that. Like, to be able to, like, it was years of letters so you know how to read. And if you don't, you're now dependent on other people, which is where we're headed largely, and it's kind of scary. Digesting material, packaging it in video, and then giving it to you, and that's what, if you're not going back to the text and actually digesting content that way. And so when you assign a book and say you have to read this, you've like kind of killed the magic of reading a little bit. And so I've also tried to make it more about like what do you want to read, and like I can teach inside of that. So pick a book you're excited about, trying to like still foster that love of reading as well, for the same reasons.
I think it's very hard because there's given the society we're in today, especially with social media, it's very easy to take the easy track. Like it's just easier to like see a 1-minute video clip about the news instead of actually reading an article about it. And
and you even talked about the gentleman that you were listening to during COVID that had it's amazing. Like it's a cool way, the John Green and their platforms, like it's such a cool way to learn. But I'm hoping it's like a tool on top of, and not getting rid of these other foundational skills. It has to be a tool,
because otherwise we just lose so much depth.
And who creates that at some point? Like if we, you know what I mean? Like the critical thinking and the problem solving and the reading and to make that content that had to happen.
Like those people are very well versed.
Oh my gosh, they are all readers. Like they're readers or leaders moment. Anybody that's making that content 100% have read hundreds of books, are incredibly intelligent.
So many perspectives.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. I think as my experience as a student, I found that some requirements, like required things, required readings, homeworks, really like I did it with like grouch, but it still helped me, and I got like, because it helped me so much, I had like the hindsight, like, wow, this really shaped me who I am and my goals and priorities, and helped me become who I am today.
I struggle, so I bought 25 different books, Holocaust, World War II, and they cover a very wide variety of all the different countries and situations and perspectives. And I used to teach The Book Thief to I just assigned it.
I remember,
Oh my gosh. And I love that book. And typically at the end of it, everyone's like, that's my favorite. Like that book was profound. And so there's a piece of me that's sad, because I think there is something about like exposing people to something. You're like, I love this thing and I want to transfer that love to you. It's so powerful as a text. And then, but also juggling the autonomy piece. And so I have, I've gone away from, I don't assign, really any one book to a whole class of students. It's like you have options and an opportunity to choose. So they have the agency in that. But I also feel like sometimes it's okay. And I might need to get a little bit better about, this is like, I promise you, it's an amazing text and you're going to love it. And we're going to walk through it together. that's okay too.
I think the walking through it together part really makes a big difference. Like, for example, in AP Lit, we all had to read Jane Eyre. All of us begrudgingly.
Yeah.
Like, we did not want to read it at all. But also, like, having that community where we're all reading the same book, like maybe a forced upon book club, but I actually found it enjoyable because we all had discussions with the same, like, knowledge and, like, different opinions on the same text.
Yeah.
So I found it really enriching.
Yeah, you can't have that common, like, drawing out multiple perspectives on a common text if you don't have a common text.
And I think, like, it goes beyond the classroom of, like we all experience the same events but through different perspectives.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think part of it is, like, a good thing, but also as a student I enjoyed autonomy from time to time.
And as an adult, I mean, teachers are the worst. Like, we are the worst to be told. Like, if an admin comes in and tells you guys are doing this, we're like, what are you talking like?
Really?
And then we will go into our classrooms and say, you're going to do this. So we're a little hypocritical in that sense. Kind of in the same vein. So let's talk about technology a little bit. We talked about, accessing videos for learning. And so what's technology look like over the last 4 or 5 years? We're a one-to-one school. You can talk about Chromebooks and social media and cell phones, and we have AI now. And so, like, what's that look like for you, and what kind of takeaways / feedback would you offer?
I loved my Chromebook. It was, like, my biggest resource. Like, sometimes I just wanted to watch, like, a dumb video, or sometimes I wanted to read, like, a New York Times article, like, on an issue that I heard someone discussing, but I don't know much about it, but it sounded interesting.
Like, it's like you literally have the whole access to the entire world and any information. Now, that can also, to your point, if you're not using it for the right reasons and you're going down a rabbit hole of YouTube videos and you spent the last 3 hours on it, that can be problematic, but it can also be incredibly powerful. Yeah.
So, like, social media, for example, like Instagram Reels, TikTok, there it is so easy to just scroll and scroll and scroll over and over again. And I'm victim to, like, 3-4 hours of, like, scrolling.
Me too.
Yeah. So
they're designed to do it, right?
They're designed. Like, yeah. So, like, I think it's really hard, and you really need to, like, be hyper aware of it, because it's very easy to lose yourself. And
any tips, anything that's worked? I mean, and I'm 42. I still am trying to, like, navigate that world. And, there's whole companies like the Brick where it, like, locks your phone up.
I've seen that.
I think back to the like credit card days where people would literally put them in water and freeze them in their freezer, so that if you had a spending problem, you had to, like, wait and ship it to thaw it to buy the purchase, and by then you would have, like,
thought about it.
Yeah, and you wouldn't actually go do it. That's like the Brick equivalent to your phone. Like, you have to have somebody, literally you're asking someone to come in and take it away from you, because you're like, as a human being, I can't fight the thing that's designed, the algorithm that's designed to captivate me.
And honestly, it's affected my performance negatively in a lot of ways, because I wouldn't be fully present in theater, let's say.
Yeah.
I would be too busy scrolling instead of paying attention to rehearsal and taking notes.
In the moment, like, if you had your phone out doing that. Yeah.
And, like, at one point, I realized, like, every time I open my phone, it's like muscle memory to just, like, go to TikTok. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even realize that I was doing that.
Yep.
That, like, I need to take a step back. So, I mean, I tried initially trying to put it in my control, where I was like, okay, I'm going to set a timer for myself on my phone, like, only 30 minutes
Ignore time.
Yeah,
ignore time.
Literally that. And then I was like, okay, fine, I'll just adjust, like, my screen time on my settings, right?
Yeah.
So I went on my phone and I was like, okay, this app only has 1 hour. And then I would just ignore.
I'm in the middle of something really important here. I've got to ignore this.
Yeah, and, like, I'd be doing my homework, and then I'd be like, oh, I need to just, like, text my friend real quick, muscle memory, and I'm sucked in.
Yeah.
And
those are and like the science behind the neuroscience behind this, the context shift, the IQ drop every time that you context shift away from the thing that you were working on. And that's very different than, I've worked on this for 2 hours, I need a 15-20 minute break. That's okay. Different. Versus I'm working on this for 2 minutes and then I click on another tab, or I pull out my phone and I'm working. It's substantial. It's like 5 or 10. It's like crazy amount of IQ point drop in the content that you're creating.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like, that sounds like really scary, and it is. I, like, feel myself sometimes, like, just getting stupider every time I scroll.
Yeah, I feel dumb afterwards. I'm like, oh, I can't believe I just did that for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And and for me, it's often at nighttime, and it's now impacting my sleep. Like, I'm like, I literally just wasted. And I'll like, I usually run at night, and I'll get back from a run, and I'm sitting there and I'm drinking some water, and then like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I literally could have had another hour, another 2 hours of sleep, and I didn't.
Yeah. What I would do is that I would wake up and I'd get dressed and get ready for school, and then I'd go down to have breakfast. And while I'm eating my cereal, I just find myself scrolling. And I'm like, this is the worst way to start the day.
Yeah. And we never sit in our thoughts. Like, we never have the time or the dead space in our brain to have the great idea, the epiphany, or just de-stress.
I read an article actually like yesterday about how like our generation is not bored anymore. Like this time in age, boredom is non-existent because we always have our phones. We always have something to do. But boredom is essential for understanding things and interesting, like thought-provoking, and being present in the moment. Yeah.
You can have this intake of information if you don't ever have the boredom or even downtime to process it and think around it. We just got back from the lake, and we were like calling around. We wanted to rent a boat because we were like, okay, we're gonna be at the lake the whole day. We gotta like take the kids out on the boat and do something. And there just were no boats available because it was last minute. And there were kayaks sitting there, and we had brought our fishing poles. And the kids literally had so much, like we had to drag them back inside to eat lunch and eat dinner. And we were like, man, if we had gotten a boat, like we would have filled their time. They wouldn't have had an opportunity. They literally made these fishing reels out of water bottles, like just plastic water bottles. And we're like, it was just such a like creative like kid time with no technology. And a boat's not technology, but it still serves that metaphorical purpose of, we felt like we were going to have to plan their time for them instead of just letting them, like, wait, we're at a lake. Like, they'll figure out something to do. They'll go out there and float and talk to each other. That's good stuff. And then the other thing that I try to keep constantly thinking about is when you, in the doom scroll, it's very different than like a podcast. So a podcast, I have like curated these intelligent people that I value, and I want them to take up brain space. And in a doom scroll, I'm allowing someone else algorithmically to put content into my brain that I'm not even choosing. It's not a
conscious decision.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They're controlling my intake of information rather than me, and that feels wrong.
Yeah, I actually, so I was talking to my dad about this sometime during the year.
This is very neuroscience oriented, like social media in general. And
so I was talking to him about this, and I was like, I am just so surprised how social media influences everyone's ideas, because I caught it with myself. There was like this random influencer whose boyfriend cheated on her, and I was like, whoa, that's outrageous. But I had never followed her life up till this point. And
now you're literally feeling outraged over a person.
I felt outraged about this, and I was like, that's interesting. Stupid. Like, what happened? And so my dad and I, like, we searched up some things, and we researched together, and we found something called like the theory of stupidity, where, like, you know, group mind.
I like the sound of this.
Yeah. So we found, like, you know, all the comments are outraged, and the more I read, the more I get outraged over something, like someone I don't even know or care about or know anything about other than her boyfriend cheated on her. Yeah. And so we found like this theory of stupidity thing, and it's like a theory that, you know, herd mind, that people will like follow others who think for them. So I was like, this is really interesting. I remember reading something similar in my psychology textbook last year. So then I went to my psychology teacher, who I had the year before. This like research thing happened this year. Yeah. And he gave me one of his books that he read called The Collective Illusion. And I'm currently reading it right now. But it's all about how like herd mind and herd mentality and having people like speak for you, like the loudest voices are often like who we believe to be right, even if they're not. Yeah. And even if so many people think otherwise, it's just stifled by the loudest voice. Yeah. And I think the loudest voice is the phone. Our phones.
For sure. The phone in general, right? Yeah. But then the phones, there's an adage, and this was in print media back in the day, like a newspaper, but if it bleeds, it leads. You know, the idea that if there's blood and murder and something, that's your lead article, because people are going to go to that and it's going to captivate and keep their attention. And the same thing is happening on social media. Yeah. And so everyone has to be outrageous. Even now, the trend where people say things that are absolutely dumb and wrong because they know that it'll get engagement in the comments and it will then get them more views and feeds.
More money, whatever.
Like, it's literally intentionally spreading misinformation because they know that it will garner people's attention.
Yeah, and some people aren't like some people don't have like the revelation moment where like, why am I feeling this way? What was this person's goal when they posted this? But like they just get sucked in.
Yeah, they don't have access to the information to even process it in that capacity to know what's happening to them.
This takes us back to when we were talking about like how people are like allow other people to influence them. And so when people allow themselves to be influenced by people on social media, they don't have like they don't want to go out of their way to research like, is this right or wrong? And like this also goes back to the other conversation we had about like people seeking out knowledge and how it's easier to digest a video instead of like reading an article. So that's the theory of stupidity. It's just easier on ourselves.
And that end part you said there, that our bias to where we will try to find every way possible to disprove something we don't believe, but if it's something that we already believe, we believe it. Like,
exactly.
We're like, yep, I 100% like, share, but we don't do any kind of digging to make sure like, okay, I believe that, but is this person's perspective accurate? Like, is this really true?
And like the book that I'm reading, Collective Illusions, it has different examples where there was this one town that was very conservative and very quiet. Like card games were forbidden, drinking alcohol was forbidden, and everyone else in that town thought everyone believed the same thing. But there was like this one very vocal, like conservative woman who believed against all these things. And when she died, there was like pastors playing card games, and people were like, wait, do people think the same I do? Because I think these rules are dumb. So it's all about having like that
one
front
loud
face,
voice
that one loud voice
steering everyone else in the town.
And when the algorithm finds that our engagement is geared towards opinions that we believe are right, that's the loud voice in our head. And that goes again with like the lenses and the different perspectives. You don't get any different perspectives. It's all just what people feed to you in your right opinion, and we just become more polarized, and it's just very intense.
It takes me back to the conversation of you finding your place of power in a room and your willingness to own that, and taking that then to those spaces and places and questioning what we're digesting, and avoid the doom scroll altogether. But even, and the big takeaway I hear is curation. So curate any content that you're going to let into your life. Make sure you know who the people are. Make sure you value them and their perspective, but also other perspectives, like intentionally curating other perspectives. So it's not just what I believe. You're going to subscribe to things that are the opposite of what you believe, so you at least hear it and understand where they come from. So curation is key, and then using your voice to like speak intelligently about those things, not just like going into the mob and being angry about it, and
without even understanding the other side.
Conversations with real humans like this, they're pretty powerful, where the social media thing is so
it's easy
abstract.
To be very polar in front of a screen, but when you're in front of another person, I feel like the need to be accepted plays into a very big role. And the
empathy muscle. Like you can see their facial expressions. You can see if something you said is hurtful to them. And hopefully, we're not monsters. We've all, have some empathy inside of us, and we filter what we're saying, and, we won't say the, outlandish, horrible thing that we would online potentially in a text thread. That's good stuff. So as a neuroscientist, there are, I'm sure, neuroscientists who are evil, who have gone to like figure out how can I use the algorithm and keep people on, right? Yeah. Like how does the brain work so that we can monetize that? And then the good people who are like, okay, this is what's happening to your brain and why it's not healthy. Don't go to the dark side.
Don't go to the dark side.
Cool. So that's technology. Any tips about stress, dealing with stress, stuff that you've found has worked, like when you feel overwhelmed or anxious? What's your go-to?
Yeah, so my go-to is journaling. So I thought journaling was kind of dumb until I actually started it. And in my journal, I would like vent about all these bad things that happened to me, or like I'm so stressed because I have this project due. And I always have a rule where if it's in ink, it can't be in my head anymore. So like once it's in the book, I'm not allowed to think about it. Yeah,
and you don't have to. You're not afraid of losing it or not dealing with it because it's down on paper. Like it's being dealt with.
Like even when I was like talking about like negativity, like I had a fight with someone today. It's like, okay, I'm not gonna like think about that fight anymore. I'm not gonna let it affect me anymore because now it's in that book.
What a healthier place to deal with it and to process as well on paper before you just go deal with
Yeah.
it or send a message or
Yeah. So like I found like that journaling was like step one, where I'd get all those negative emotions out, but then like write one good thing about my day so I don't end on a bad note.
That's good.
And then after having that like reflection period, I'd then address whatever issue it is. Or if I need extra processing, I'd go to a friend or my mom or my dad. So I think having dual processing, or like two steps,
Yeah.
really helps with stress, because you first think about what is making me stress and why do I feel this way. And if you can't solve the problem there, then you go to other people. But I always find like it makes you more mindful and more aware, and just it gives you a step back before you realize, like, is this really such a big deal that like my cookies got burned in the oven?
There's this great book called Man's Search for Meaning, and the author of it survived the Holocaust in a concentration camp, but he's a psychiatrist. And so all of it was filtered through this lens of psychiatry, but he has this great line in there that there's space in between stimulus and response, and that's where humanity lives. And so journaling
really
to me
cool
is that
line.
space, right? It's that moment of pause. I'm not going to react. I'm not going to like let this fester. I'm going to put it down in paper, create brain space, get it out of my mind. I don't have to like fixate on it any longer. And then part two, I'll, after I process it, go do something constructive with it. That's really good advice. I would say both of those two. I listen to a lot of podcasts, uber successful people. They all read and they all write. They have some sort of journaling as a part of their daily routine. So it may feel silly, but it's an incredibly valuable tool.
Does, yeah.
Do you ever go back and read like some of the things you wrote down?
Yeah, I at first I journaled as a point to vent, but then I realized, I have a really hopefully long life, so I want to like remember all the little things. So,
and that's maybe that positive end moment.
Yeah, and then I started journaling about like, something great that happened today, or like just something I want to remember in the future. Like before I started journaling, I would like leave notes for myself every year and keep them in a black box. Like when I was in 3rd grade, I wrote, "I'm right. Just remember that I'm always right," in 3rd grade, and I put that in that box.
It's what you needed to hear in 3rd grade though too, right? Like it was the moment, like that's a powerful empowerment line and moment for you as a 3rd grader.
Yeah, and it's like I look back on it and I'm like, that's when I have the reflection, like, oh, like all I knew was that I was right back then because I didn't know anything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I read back on my journal. I reminisce sometimes. Sometimes when I read my journal and like it'll mention a friend that I haven't been in touch with for a really long time, I'll like reach out to them.
Sometimes nice to look back too and see these problems that were big problems that they and they might have been a big problem and they still are a big problem, but they work themselves out. So you feel better about the problems you're facing now because like time really does fix a lot of things. Or you can go back and go like, I thought my world was exploding and that really wasn't a big problem, and so I'm not gonna be as so that look back sometimes is helpful. One of my students, as their ELM project, he made paper, which I went home and I told my wife, I was like, this kid's making paper. She's like, yeah, you didn't know you can make paper. I'm like, no, I didn't know you make paper. So he like blended and pulped up paper, and then you use screens and you like have it all in water and it like dries, and it like was a legit paper. And then he sprinkled some wildflower seeds inside of it, which really cool. Neither of those I understand are necessarily novel ideas, but like he had never made paper, and like there's already paper out there with seeds in it. But then he put it all into a journal, and so his idea was that you would write your crappy day down, and the bad thing that was happening, you get to rip it out and plant it, and a beautiful thing would grow out of it. And that was the moment. Like I was like, oh, dude, that's such a cool idea. And amazing. It worked. We ripped paper out, planted it, and the flowers actually grew. I was like, this is so cool. Like it was just this cool idea of like turning those bad, because that's what really happens. The problems and conflicts in your life do grow. They help you grow, and they turn into the beautiful life that you wanted when you get to the other side. So I thought that was a cool project. Really cool. All right, so just last question. Anything, last moments, any other pieces of advice? What would middle school, high school students should do in order to be prepared for when they're a senior, getting ready to, we won't count down the days, but leave in a couple of weeks to go to college? Yeah, I think the most important thing is taking it one step at a time while also having like a general idea of a plan. There's a balance there. Yeah, because it's not healthy to plan out every single moment of your life, because when things go awry, it's going to feel awful. And it just boxes yourself in unnecessarily
to viewpoints that might grow and change. So I'd say just do what you're doing, like make sure that you're like doing good in school, that you have good friends, and even if you don't, like don't be afraid to like seek something new and try something new.
It's okay to have a plan, and it's okay to deviate from said plan, and it's okay to have fun while navigating said plan, right?
I'd also say confidence is the biggest thing. I'd say the biggest thing that has led me to where I am today is owning my space in this world, whether that be in the classroom or like in orchestra, or like it translates all to the real world.
There's this great Eleanor Roosevelt quote that I heard this morning. I'm not going to be able to remember it, but the essence of it was no one's really thinking about you as much as you think they are. Like no one really, everybody is in their own head. They have their own problems and conflicts blowing up and things they're excited about. And so people are not paying attention to you. And that's not a bad thing. That's an empowerment thing to go, you don't have to be self-conscious. You don't have to be so worried about what people are thinking about you, because they're not. And so be confident. It's a requirement, I think, in living your best self in life.
It is.
And just realizing that you have a voice and you have value as a human being on the planet. You're here for a reason. And so be confident in that body and in that space, and say the things and be wrong and be right, and be a presence.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing.
It's good. I like it. Well, we have done it, Sarah. We're at the end of the podcast.
Whoa, that flew by.
It's a long, fast, short, long, fast moment.
Short, long, fast.
I love sitting down and having these conversations, because I will rarely sit down and one-on-one for an hour and a half, have a conversation with another human being. And so, back to that technology question, it kind of like technology can be really cool and it can provide cool opportunities. Thank you so much for taking a moment to talk to us.
You.
I can't wait to see what's going to happen in the world of neuroscience as you enter in and navigate the brain. And I wish you the best of luck at Ohio State.
Yeah, thanks.
Got it.
As always, thank you to my guests for taking the time to sit down and share their experience with us. A shout out to Hayes Browder, my son, for creating the original audio used in this episode. A huge thank you to the Granville Education Foundation. Their hard work and grant opportunities have made this podcast space available for my students, and I am incredibly grateful. Another shout out to all my listeners. In a content-rich world, I am humbled by those who take the time to hear the reflection, introspection, and advice offered inside these recordings. I truly believe this podcast has made me a better teacher, father, and overall human being. I hope you find that to be true as well. Until next time, be kind, be grateful, be you.